welcome back to our channel, documenting our journey to financial freedom. We believe that financial education is key to ensuring we meet our financial goals. In this week's video, we will focus on the book America's Cheapest Family Gets You Right on the Money by Steve and Annette Economides. It is one of the books that had a true impact on our family's lifestyle and approach to spending. My husband and I have always shared the author's strong no debt mantra, but we did not have the same frugal approach to needs. This book was eye-opening for us. In their book, this frugal family of 7 shares their approach to grocery shopping, buying cars or home, to planning family vacation, and more. I will go over the recommendations that really impacted our family and how we implemented some of these recommendations in our daily lives. Let's start with recommendations about grocery shopping, as this is one of our family's biggest spend categories. The first thing to keep in mind is to resist impulse buys, which is a true challenge as grocery stores do their very best to optimize their layout to encourage shoppers to spend. This strategy is well documented. Being armed with this knowledge and being ready to plan ahead really makes a difference. For instance, don't do your grocery shopping on an empty stomach. Also, make a list. My grandparents always had a grocery list, but for some reason I had not copied that habit, even though I knew they were quite good at managing money. That has changed now, and we always have a grocery list. Cutting down the number of trips to the store is a good strategy too. As a family, we used to go every other day, and now cut back to only once a week. We eat a lot of fresh produce and have found this to be a good rhythm for us. The book's authors plan everything out in advance and shop only once a month. They make good use of their freezer and even price their meals. We have found that the overhead involved in these extra steps do not match our family's aspiration to keep things simple and to eat fresh produce to stay healthy. A final tip from the book that we have finally put to good use is to make the most of the right deals for your family. To do that, you should know the price of the items you buy often, as this will enable you to recognize deals that correspond to your shopping patterns. We want to keep things simple and are not willing to scour for coupons, cut them, organize them, and bring them to the store. Luckily for us, the online apps for some of the grocery stores we go to, like Safeway, make using coupons quick and painless. When non-perishable items that you know you use a lot come on sales, you should stock up. For our family, this is the case for baking ingredients like flour, sugar, or butter, which we freeze, as well as for our kids' snacks, cereals, jam, and honey. With a bit of foresight, you can get these items for a third or less of the full price. All in all, grocery shopping can be done in a very deliberate way to ensure that you do not waste any money on items you do not need, and that you do not spend more than you have to on the items that you do need. It is a matter of readjusting your frame of mind and can be done without sacrificing too much. For a family, we only cut back on the more expensive items as well as on eating out. This makes the rare occasions when we do decide to treat ourselves all that more special. Another category that can be handled quite well with intentional spending is clothing. This has never been an area of big spend for us, especially since my husband and I do not have any dress code to respect at work. Research scientists and data scientists have very relaxed work environments, and I often wear company swag from t-shirt to hoodies to work. There are, however, still tips in this book that can be useful for our family, especially since our kids grow so fast. When our daughter was first born, we bought all her newborn clothes brand new. Of course, 1 month later, she outgrew them and they were barely worn. We gifted her baby clothes to a pregnant friend and started thinking of ways to obtain good quality secondhand clothing. We shopped at thrift shops and consignment stores specializing in kids' clothing. We looked online on apps like Nextdoor and Craigslist. When we find good deals, we wash the clothes and then store them in plastic storage boxes that we label by size. Clothes that do not have rubber bands handle storage really well. Just like the authors of the book recommend, we are keenly aware of the type of clothing we will need in the next year or so, and are therefore able to focus our attention on items that we are missing. I would say that about 80 to 90% of our kids' clothing is secondhand. What we do not find secondhand, we buy when online clothing brands have big sale events. The book's author have further advice on buying clothing that my husband and I will need to implement for ourselves. Finding the right thrift shops for adult clothes, planning ahead, and knowing our size and colors will be key. We have more growing to do here. Let's now focus on two categories where being mindful about your choices can have a huge impact on your wallet and on your financial health: cars and housing. Looking at cars first, the book's author walked their readers through the choices buyers face. The first step, of course, is to decide between a new and a used car. I do not think there is any surprise that they recommend buying a used car, and I wholeheartedly agree. A new car depreciates or loses value almost immediately after you drive it off a dealer's lot. Dave Ramsey's online resources show that a brand new car loses somewhere between 9 to 11% of its value the moment you drive off the lot. So, with a $30,000 new vehicle, you're basically throwing out $3,000 out of the car window as you drive the car home for the first time. That is not ideal. So what you want to find is a used car that has been driven for a few years. There are several ways to buy used cars, including getting them directly from the previous owners or from a car dealership. Either way, you should try to save up for the cost of the car and avoid any car loans. The book offers a lot of advice on how to go about buying safely a gently used car from a previous owner, making sure that there are no unpleasant surprises. I wish we had that information when we bought our car. We got our Toyota Prius from a pre-owned Toyota car dealership, and I know this led us to spend more than we could have. This was our first car, and neither my husband or I are in the least bit knowledgeable about cars. We chose to go through a dealership in the hope of getting a more reliable and safe car. When our current car stops working, hopefully many years from now, and we have to find a replacement vehicle, I'd like to think we'll follow the economists' advice. They also underline that a car is a big money sink, and you should really start saving for maintenance costs as well as for the cost of a new car. Insurance also plays a big part in car-related costs, and you should shop around for the best deal. Note to self: review our insurance policy and compare it to others. Moving on to housing, where a wrong decision can have catastrophic consequences. The most important point in the book is to make sure you do not buy too much of a house for your budget. You are responsible for making sure that that is the case. Your financial well-being is your responsibility and is not what your real estate agent or your bank will optimize for. A rule of thumb is to make sure that all house-related expenses do not exceed 40% of your net income. That includes everything from mortgage to property tax to maintenance costs. The book's author lay out their recommended path to home ownership. First, make sure you are very familiar with the housing market in your area and look around a lot to get a sense of the prices. Do not get emotionally attached to a house. That would lead you to pay more than what it's worth. The second step is to save up for the down payment. Do not pay any fees because you did not have the down payment. It is a minimum of 20% of the price of the house, but aim for more. When you do own your home, be smart on house repairs. Learn how to do things yourself, ask neighbors for repairmen they have enjoyed working with, and keep educating yourself. As I have mentioned in several videos, our family is still trying to understand if home ownership is the right path for us. Being careful with money does not mean that you should not live happily and have plenty of fun times with your family. This book offers many ideas, some of which were more relevant in a pre-COVID world. These include going to the library, that can be to read, to check out books, as well as to make the most of activities, like story time, that most libraries organize. On the same note, going to local concerts or enjoying thematic days that your city organizes is always fun and usually free. An intriguing idea that we want to follow up on when our kids are older is volunteering with them. Finally, there are activities that are still relevant in a COVID era, such as cooking an especially nice meal and dining in. Let's speak about holidays. It's been a little weird this past 12 months with COVID restrictions in place, But before that, we enjoyed going camping. We tried to bring our food along, preparing bread, cookies, and other homemade goods for a trip. We also bring games and art supplies to keep the kids busy. Making sure you share special and fun times with your family is important on your journey to financial freedom. But as the book also underlines, it is especially important to be careful and proactive about our health. The authors underline the need for medical insurance and for you to be aware of your benefits. They also stress that you should take charge of your family's health and you should ask doctors questions. This did challenge my way of thinking, which assumed that as highly trained specialists, doctors would have the best solutions on hand. But the truth remains that you know your family better, and only by working together with your doctors can you achieve the best outcome. The last piece of advice I found in this book that I want to include in this video is actually shared across a lot of books in personal finance. This is the importance of emergency funds to create a buffer for any unforeseen circumstances. The first fund to establish is a sinking fund with 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, which will allow you to weather any unemployment period without dreadful consequences on your financial health and protect you from undue stress. I am grateful I followed this advice. About 1 year ago, I had to stop working for 2 months until I received my new and delayed work authorization. Having the peace of mind to know that we as a family would be fine during this period where we lived only on my husband's income was truly a fantastic gift. You should also make sure you are always able to cover the maximum out-of-pocket costs for medical expenses, to avoid adding a financial crisis on top of a medical crisis should one ever arise. You should also plan ahead for any travel you will be doing, which is very relevant to us as most of our extended family lives thousands of miles away. Finally, as we mentioned earlier, you should save up for car-related expenses as well as for home repairs. This planning ahead really pays off and offers a lot of peace of mind and flexibility. The bottom line is that you should try to be intentional in your spending and strive to plan ahead to the extent possible. This book really had an impact on our family's lifestyle, and I like to think it changed it for the better. I encourage you to check out the book from your local library. There might even be an online version useful in these COVID times. Let us know in the comments below what advice you found the most helpful. What are personal finance books that have shaped your own philosophy? I am always looking to increase our financial literacy. Goodbye for now, and take care.